beating the likes of teams that people would never imagine them taking wins over, and not only taking wins, confidently. So, can they carry this confidence now into the grand finals, or not the grand finals, lower finals, excuse me, versus Complexity? Winner of this one guarantees themselves at least $3,000 in their pocket, so you know they're going to be hunting. Jolly, let's see what they got in this best of 5 for the lower brackets.
Oh my god, guys, we're in it. Thank goodness. And from here on out, everything will be good. Right? No more issues from here on out. We finally get to watch OpTic show up in this best of 5 here. Already 30 seconds in. Complexity kind of struggling right off the bat.
Reddles puts one to the backboard and puts the pressure on. AJ won't be there for the follow-up touch, but Magic Bear can at least try and delay the counterattack the other way. CRR will try to go for a narrow angle off the backboard, but it doesn't quite come to fruition. So OpTic starting to look pretty strong here. We can see why they might have been able to take down the likes of many a good team in the lower bracket. Passing plays like this, though, not quite on target. Reddles will try to go for the follow-up off his own touch to the backboard, but doesn't really come to fruition. And instead, AJ now has to make a solid save on the other end. Send it to the backboard, send it to himself, get some solid touches, and Reynolds will read that play out to the side. Some heads-up thinking if I've ever seen it. Somehow Complexity stuffed back into their half. Well, it looked like they had full possession in their favor.
Ooh, Raisebowl finds a nice peel away there. AJ gonna have a challenge. It's redirected. AJ.G getting a demo there onto Magic Bear. Complexity has to turn that one away. Racebull finds the save. AJ trying to reassess this one and lining it back up. It's a nice slow roll in front of the goal line, but it will not go through. Nobody there to follow up the play. Just a shot from AJ. Goes to the midfield. Broken up there. Racebull is available for Complexity to be able to send that out. But with Reddles getting a demo on the backside, this might be the chance for OpTic to sink their first goal in. Here it is. CRR turns it away.
And this, unfortunately, is kind of what many people have seen at OpTic throughout the season for RLCS. This is a team that has been so close to greatness, but hasn't quite been able to achieve it. And similar here in the start of this game as well. So many good shots on target, none of them able to pierce the back of the net, though. And it's not necessarily from Complexity making miraculous saves, but just cutting out these passing plays before they can turn into a threatening shot. This is relatively threatening, though. This is actually wide open. AJ.G just needs, or excuse me, AJ just needs to put it on target. I have a feeling I'm going to be mixing that one up, but one thing is for certain, I won't mix this one up. OpTic the first on the board.
Absolutely cannot mix that one up, and it was almost halfway through this first game, at least regulation time in this best of 5, but they're going to put the first point on the board. And again, Complexity, you know what, just feeling a little bit off kilter at the moment. These are opportunities that OpTic is going to take advantage of every time. Racebull trying to get this one out of the corner. AJ.G stalling it up a little bit, giving the opportunity over to CRR to set this one up for Racebull, who tries to get the shot in, but it immediately gets turned away. Still on OpTic's defensive side, so Complexity looking for another aggressive push, but we should see a clear here soon.
They're trying their best at this point. Oh, wait a minute. Racebull, double touch off the backboard. Lays it off to no one. AJ's going to be there for the follow. Carry it out to the sidewall. I thought surely one of the Complexity attackers would have dove on that one afterwards, but instead, they're just focusing on a midfield. And I'll say this much. FURIA seems to have this team shook. They were diving on every play through every series we saw today. Now they start off against OpTic. They got a 1-goal lead, and they don't even want to push past midfield.
Well, can they? Let's see if they're able to actually pressure this one out. It's going back over the blue side. It's a beautiful pass over, and AJ steals it away.
I mean, this is a beautiful goal, don't get me wrong, but all 3 players for Complexity back, and not a single one decides to go up to the air until it's way too late. Reddles completely unguarded. AJ steals this goal and would have been a goal either way, but OpTic off to a very hot start, while Complexity look more than just ice cold. They look tundra. This is not good for Complexity.
Yeah, it's feeling Arctic over there, that's for sure. And, you know, hey, it's a fitting name. Complexity is, there's some complex emotions they're going to have to work through here if they're not able to at least get a game off of OpTic moving forward. This is their last chance to stay alive in the lower bracket and have the opportunity to go on to face the grand finals, face FURIA. So 1:20 left on the clock here. Complexity, you know what, if they don't figure it out in this game, it's got to show up in game number 2 because OpTic is on a tear, and at this point there's no slowing them down. They have huge control, they have huge momentum. They're not even allowing Complexity to get a clear on this.
I'm starting to realize what SteelSeries is. You know, this cup in particular is the let's show off the teams that have potential and finally have them actually reach said potential. OpTic has been touted as this giant killer all year long, but have been unable to actually put those pieces together outside of one really solid regional to end off the last split. And similarly, it's been the same idea for FURIA, a team that has done well, but with multiple results, not being able to find themselves a solidified position in the top 5 in NA, they've missed out on major after major. So now we're starting to see OpTic finally come into their own. We've seen FURIA already do that, and although Complexity are struggling right now, they've been a team that we knew could achieve greatness, and have done that already here today, with taking down the likes of many solid teams. So, I don't know, this tournament's bringing out the best in every team that we're watching. Unfortunately for Complexity right now, though, it's kind of bringing out the worst. 20 seconds to go, it's looking like they're going to get shut out in game number 1, and honestly, more than just getting shut out here, Jolly, it feels like they've been pressed into their half and had to live there the entirety of these 5 minutes.
It really has. I mean, this is the first time that we've seen the orange side of the field right now, and it's the last couple of seconds. There's not even an opportunity here for Complexity to be able to lock one in. So OpTic is going to take that game number 1, and they're looking poised to take the series pretty cleanly. Honestly, we saw Complexity earlier. We saw the 3-0 over version 1, who had taken down FaZe Clan, right? So that we were like, all right, Complexity's looking really good today. And then we just saw them play against FURIA. And that was an 0-3. They were doing all right, but Complexity basically looked shook, right? OpTic, and it's not OpTic that did it necessarily. They got shook a little bit earlier on, and now they can't find their footing. And I'm sorry, if you can't get your footing around this OpTic team, you're not going anywhere. And they're just going to continue to hurt.
I don't know what really to say at this point. Very rarely am I just completely stumped, but that was the most surprising result. I expected Complexity to start off a little slow due to the fact that they are not coming hot off of a series, and they're coming off of a series where they really couldn't find anything to put together. But that was just overwhelmingly OpTic. Very few shots that looked threatening in favor of Complexity. Very few chances for them to break out of their half cleanly. 1 or 2 occasionally, but in comparison to the OpTic, who just kind of suffocated them out at midfield and had multiple solo plays turn into greater threats, I don't know what to say except for good luck, Complexity. Game number 2, you guys feel like you gotta win this, because the reverse sweep in your current state does not seem like it.
Yeah, when I'm thinking about, the future of this series for Complexity, my immediate thought is, I don't know. OpTic is just looking way too clean right now. And again, Complexity, they had their time in the sun, right? They had their time to shine. They really proved to us when taking down version 1 that they have the capacity to, do really well in this tournament. But at the end of the day, yeah, this is ridiculous. At the end of the day, they lost it, right? Like, this doesn't feel like Complexity at all, to be honest.
Okay, that makes more sense. Demo out of midfield there. Still probably shouldn't have been a goal, but yeah, this is feeling very weird in comparison to the usual Complexity, where we were so complimentary of their speed to get back and forth across the pitch without being caught off guard. FURIA the only team to really do so, and all of a sudden, OpTic doing the exact same thing. They get one good demo out of midfield, and nobody is prepared on the other end to try and stop what was an inevitable counterattack at OpTic Gaming. So, Complexity right now seemingly still got some challenges that they've got to try and fix, and if they do not, this is going to be a short-lived series similar to the last one. AJ would like to think so. He has 100% goal participation so far throughout this entire series, and for a good reason. He has been such a stellar player. And also, to go back on the stats real quickly, just to sort of further emphasize what we mean when we say incredibly in control of OpTic. Game number 1, OpTic, total of 10 shots. Complexity, 1. A single registered shot through 5 minutes of play. So it's not as if we're just trying to drum up a story that Complexity is getting smacked right now. They're barely getting options on how to even get back into this series. They finally rip off a shot here in game number 2, but unfortunately, Reddle's very quick to close that down.
Yeah, I mean, major veterans on this OpTic team, right? I mean, you can't
not again.
watch. Oh my lord, that is just a rough one. I mean, where are they? Like, this is absurd. If you are not beyond the midfield line here, like, if you don't have a defender at least somewhat near that rotation, you're just asking OpTic to score on you.
I mean, I don't know if they're asking them as much as just kind of giving them the option every single time. And, oh my gosh, are they going to do it again? AJ off the backboard. Lord. All right, well, Complexity, this game ain't your game either. I guess it's going to be game 3, because 90 seconds in, it's already 3-0.
I mean, that's what I was saying earlier. Like, honestly, that Complexity versus FURIA game, I could feel it. I was like, it's gone. The magic that was here with Complexity, I don't know about what happened today, it's gone. And OpTic, they've got it, right? They have the game still on. And this is the consistency I was hoping to see to go into a team like FURIA, who has shown a lot of consistency, right? The hope is that the team that's run through the lower bracket also has the capacity to stay on point all day, all tournament long. And that's just how it's going. At this point, Complexity, honestly, there's just so many mistakes. This is so ridiculous coming out of them, considering they've made it this far and are just kind of faltering so hard.
It just kind of feels like they're over and over again trying to figure out a way to stop this midfield presence out of OpTic, and the only way they can figure out how is by sending the house. And although it works here, and I want to give them full credit for it, it's also their first goal through almost 7 minutes of play. So, all right, Complexity, back on the horse. Can they ride it to victory? Time will tell. They've got 2.5 minutes to try and do so to at least get 2 goals and send us to an OT.
OT again. I think majority of the games that we've had today have actually been OT. We've had everything from like a 4-minute OT to a 12-second OT. And, you know, most of them haven't been incredibly surprising. At the end of the day, the team that has the pressure is able to just follow through. But, I mean, Complexity really has to figure something out. Boost management is bad right now. Rotations are incredibly bad right now. So it's just going back to basics. It's going back to fundamentals and focusing on those for Complexity here. There's a goal. There we go. That's it.
Asking RazeBull to come to life. CR already has. He's got the first goal of the series for his team, as well as also this beautiful assist here. Not sure how he turns that into that much power going to the backboard, but RazeBull will be able to meet it very quickly. And Reddles, as Lonesome, can't really do all too much to prevent that goal. But can they prevent the comeback as a whole? It's the greater question, because with 2:15 to go, we were waiting for Complexity to finally wake up in this series, and they have done exactly that. They've got their morning stretches out of the way. Now can they continue to go with this amount of momentum and find themselves a win? It could be here. OpTic from 3-0 to 3-3. Collapse here before even the 2-minute mark.
I mean, all right, maybe, you know, maybe I was a little hard on them. Maybe it was a good thing. Maybe they needed that. You know, maybe they needed me to be a little tough, because they just now showed up. Like, I'm not going to lie. Complexity in, like, the last 30 seconds has now shown up, and I have a lot more confidence in the rest of the series actually playing itself out and not just going in full favor to OpTic, because before they looked kind of impenetrable. And now there are at least some breakaways, right? There's some opportunities. So now OpTic needs to adjust accordingly and see if they can retake control of this in the next minute 40 seconds.
Yeah, it just kind of feels like right now both teams, neither one of them getting a solid string of possessions. It's just kind of back and forth, with neither one of these teams being able to find themselves a solid touch on the ball that actually turns into a string outside of that one Complexity play that we saw. So, not really sure what to expect at this point, although this could just be another goal from 3-0 to 4-3. Complexity with a monumental comeback.
Oh my word. All right. This is not what I was expecting here. Fantastically played by Complexity. OpTic has been thrown back on their heels. Like I said, they have to adjust on the fly. They've got plenty of time. A minute 25 is more than enough time, not only to get the one goal, but to potentially take advantage. But you got to slow Complexity down along the way. Magic Bear taking this one up, gets it past the midfield line, loses in that challenge to CRR, and now it's Complexity back on the aggressive. Reddles gets bumped away, but is still able to keep a touch on the ball. AJ, that one pops up, thanks to a challenge from AJG. Now Magic Bear going for the shot. It will be turned away. On the backside, there's a demo. On the front side, there's a demo. That's 2 members. Now 3 members of Complexity down. This should be an easy one for OpTic, but they can't find the angle.
They're trying their best, but it just kind of feels like OpTic right now just kind of grasping at straws, looking to get some plays together without really being able to put a solid touch on any of their possessions. Speaking of which, where's the follow-up to this? RazeBull will shoot on target. Reddles will save it, but it felt like OpTic might have bit off more than they can chew. Trying again here, though. Reddles, touch on the ball, flip, reset, denied by RazeBull. Last second save, and now Magic Bear buys Lonesome, has to try and save this the other way. We'll do exactly that, but with 22 to go, they got to be careful here. OpTic need 1 goal just to tie it, and if Complexity gets another one, that'll surely close out this game.
Certainly feeling that way. Still, last 10 seconds is where OpTic can certainly shine. We'll see if they're capable of doing that. Nice little transition there. It goes over to Reddles. He's going to play it off the ceiling. It goes to the corner, though. It's a nice stall from CRR. The ball just has to touch the ground now, but there's still a chance. AJ trying to get in front of that one. AJG actually getting ahead, and RazeBull finding the breakaway to send it back to the orange side of the field. That means that Complexity is going to take game number 2, and I'm not nearly as concerned as I was a bit ago, Bass.
No, not even close. Complexity finally back into this game, and not only back into this game, really back into the series overall. This was way better from them. In comparison to the one shot they had before, they not only have 8 total shots, but they have more shots than OpTic as a whole. And unfortunately for OpTic, though, at the same time, I can't help but feel this was a choke out of them here. 3-0 to 4-3. They didn't even not get a clapback. They didn't have any response. As soon as Complexity came to life, this team very quickly went quiet and had very little to say throughout the rest of the game.
Yeah, which was, honestly, it was really surprising that it happened literally like a minute or two into game number 2. Usually you expect the break in between games to be that adjustment, right? When a team says, okay, we're focusing on this, all right, let's up our communication, let's focus on our rotations, boost management, that kind of thing. But no, it was 2 minutes in, they're like, okay, yeah, let's stop messing around, guys. And thank goodness, because we do not want a sweep series. Not only that, but we also don't want just a heavy-sided series when it comes to the losers finals here. So Complexity able to turn it back up, but OpTic is still looking good. They just need to kind of tidy things.
I would agree with that one. It's not necessarily about reforming their entire game. It's about picking up the pieces and playing just a little bit more cleanly. There's just been a little bit of too much chaos here and there that has led to some openings that Complexity can take advantage of. If you guys get your heads back on straight, keep your feet planted firmly, you should be able to wrap this series up, especially when AJ is doing stuff like this. A dunk on the line, but where's the follow-up? Magic Bear will have challenge, and it almost turns into a goal the other way. It does. 2 players on. OpTic, miscommunication just absolutely does them in.
Wow. Miscommunication, not something you can let happen. And that's, we've seen that a couple times. Obviously, we haven't seen it at OpTic yet, since we haven't gotten to see OpTic until this moment. But those are situations where, unfortunately, you have so little time that the communication, in that 0.5 second, can you properly communicate that, right? Sometimes it just doesn't happen,
I don't know if I know anything at this point, I'm gonna be real with you. Keep trying to read the series, keep trying to make analytical takes on it, and I'm getting more and more confused due to an OpTic that are kind of rushing everything at a Complexity that are just kind of playing very similar to how they were beating a lot of other teams throughout this bracket, which is just taking advantage of the little mistakes that they are making. And unfortunately for OpTic, these little mistakes are turning into glaring errors as more and more we're seeing just weird plays, whether it's 2 players on the ball, neither one of them makes a dive, or here, Magic Bear, I can understand why you want to get preemptive there, but a shot's coming on, and had that been on target, you're way out of net and not prepared to make the save. OpTic right now looking like a chicken with its head cut off, just kind of floundering around looking for some sort of escape to this Complexity offense and finding nothing.
Yeah, and they're trying to match the momentum, right? Complexity has really sped up the pace of this game and just sped up the pace of their plays. OpTic is trying to match that, but they unfortunately keep just kind of stalling the ball out, and they're not actually finding the direction that they want to. So they end up finding, oh my gosh, no way, that was a bit of a double commit. Does that mean they can get out in time? Oh, the ball was just a little bit high. There's the redirect. Raisable once again hits the crossbar. Is Complexity going to get this? No, it hits the crossbar a 3rd time from CRR. The 4th player of OpTic absolutely coming in clutch.
Yeah, it's looking like V1 out there with the amount of times they go off the bar. Okay, this time it goes off the bar, but at least it goes in. Raise ball, a narrow angle, but it'll make it work. And again, OpTic, though, this is completely open. You have the obvious, initial attack there. Somebody's got to rotate in. You're just giving too many openings, and against a team like Complexity, this is all but inevitable. You've got to change it up. Initially, we were saying it's minor details that have kind of left this team in the dust. I think it's more than just that now, Jolly. They got to rework themselves, because what was small problems are turning into large ones, and those large ones are turning into their downfall.
Yeah, it's starting to become really scary. This is, it's very reminiscent of, games 1 and 2 with this exact matchup, right? This series, but flip-flopped. Complexity kind of experienced this in the first game and the first half of the second game there. OpTic, again, it's not like they're performing poorly, right? They just need to figure out where Complexity is kind of lacking, like what advantages they can take of them. And right now, I would say Complexity, like I said, the momentum is what is really working well for them. And that is going to help out. Clear them out of their defensive zone, I guess, and then you don't have to worry about it.
Well, it's very similar to what they were doing before, where it's OpTic with a lockdown midfield that's just not letting Complexity out. And as soon as they do that for long enough, eventually Complexity would push out too far at midfield and then have a completely wide open net. They don't necessarily push too far out at midfield, but rather a double commit there, and very quickly the shot goes on. So, I mean, listen, OpTic, that's definitely your way back into this series. If you know Complexity is going to try and play it aggro, you have to play it with a little bit of patience at the right moment and utilize said patience to look for openings. That was a great one, but you're not going to get those type of goals every day of the week. You got to do something just a little bit more surefire if you want to tie this game and at least send us to overtime. Stuff like this is how you do, but barely saved out is the Complexity defense there. Last second save will keep them in this game and give them a chance now the other way. Razebull, you're getting a double touch to dunk that one and deny it from being a cross-court clear. But OpTic, you've got your way in. You have found your key. Now can you use it to unlock the floodgates and give Complexity a good run for their money here with only 90 seconds to go?
Lack of boost again for OpTic. Freddles is going to be able to pick up that 100, but it doesn't make a difference. CRR right there on the forefront. Again, Complexity. They're just too quick for OpTic right now.
Very confused. Oh, no one puts a hand up here for AJG. Reynolds lets him take it all the way to that corner, and by the time that he does get to that corner, AJ's looping in behind him. Magic Bear's kind of on the line ready for the save, but that's about as easy of a pass play as you can get. OpTic, you got to get in the way here. A team that are more than capable of doing whatever they want with the ball if you give them the time and space to utilize it. And they almost get another goal there. They may still. CRR to the backboard. Reynolds doesn't get the touch. This one's dropping down. It's still in front of the net. And nobody's going to make a shot happen here. But OpTic, again, scrambly as ever. It feels like this team is trying to string plays together but are struggling severely due to Complexity continually diving and interrupting plays. And oh my goodness, also CRR being CRR. He was a scoring leader at the major. He was a scoring leader in the last split, and he's doing the same thing here today. He has been a lot of the reason Complexity have been in this series and have kept themselves in the lead. With 50 seconds to go, if they can do that for the remainder of this time, they will take a lead on the series and be one game away from getting a rematch in the grand finals.
A rematch? You know what? I don't know if I want that. I really don't. I sincerely, honestly don't. Not that I don't love rematches like that, right? Especially when it comes kind of full circle in that sense. But, you know, I was really hoping to see OpTic pop off. I was hoping to see the winner's bracket run play against the loser's bracket runner, right? OpTic, I mean, went through the entire bracket. They were one of the first teams to lose, to fall down, and they were able to put so much in, and we saw Complexity really get thrown off their game. And you know, I'm just kind of, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of disappointed that OpTic was able to take down the lower bracket so easily, and now is experiencing so much trouble here with Complexity.
And it's crazy that it's Complexity that stops them. Not V1, not Gen.G, not FaZe. It's Complexity that have now become the biggest thorn in the side here for OpTic. That being said, OpTic has seen resistance before. It was not an easy battle past FaZe here. They won 2 games in a row, but that third one is where FaZe all of a sudden start to battle back. So 2 losses to them is nothing new. They've even reverse swept against Gen.G in that first bracket. So they know what adversity is. They have been here before. The question is whether or not this amount of adversity is something they can still overcome. They're 1 game away from the end of their tournament. They'd still walk away with $1,500. That is not a small chunk of change whatsoever. When $3,000 awaits you just for making it to the grand finals, Jolly, OpTic got to pull out all the stops here. They've got one last life, and they cannot afford to waste it.
Yeah, you know what? We've been begging to see them on broadcast, and now they're here, and it's like, I want them to show up. I really do. I really want them to show up. They've still got the opportunity, but because these finals are still just best of 5s, it's a lot closer, right? You have to be a lot more concerned in the early games when they're showing a lot of disadvantages. I'm just so surprised after games 1 and 2, which were, I mean, game 1 at least was definitely all OpTic, right? Game 2 was like half and half, and then now game 3 was just all Complexity. It's crazy how the script has flipped so quickly here as we get into game number 4.
Yeah, it feels like everything is kind of turned on its head over and over again. The chaos is just something that we have seen multiple times here over and over, but I don't know. It kind of feels like we might not be done with the series quite yet. I got some faith left in OpTic. The question is whether or not Complexity can shut this one out with the momentum that they have found so far. 4:30 on the clock. Game number 4 officially underway. The question is whether or not OpTic can pull out all the stops like we said and try and slow down a Complexity that seemingly has had no slowdown since they found their momentum. Or maybe I was going to say a breakout here for OpTic, but again, they're just looking a little bit trigger shy here, Jolly. They don't want a full send at the risk of potentially getting punished by Complexity.
This is a tough one. It's a minute in now. Oh my goodness, a nice save. There we go. AJ properly in position here. Now we've got the carry down to center field. CRR should be able to push this one no problem. A nice communication there. One person heading towards the other corner, so you do pick up the 100 boost for those members of Complexity. But again, OpTic, you know what? Oh, all right, I like that one. Car bump into a car bump into a ball bump. That's some extra degrees,
goodness.
and HHG going to be able to lock that one in.
What a shot at AJG. In a game where we've had chaos abundant here, this is probably the first clean play we've had in a hot minute. My goodness, AJG with just this littlest final touch. I still can't help but feel, though, OpTic, with only one defender back, you got to be prepared. It feels like they are sending the house and coming up with almost nothing. And unfortunately for OpTic, the momentum continues to just drift further away from them. Uh-oh, and a breakaway play out of midfield. CRR is not the one you want to let just have full possession of the ball, and somebody's got to get back to this one. Eventually, Reynolds will make the save, but again, OpTic really struggling to keep up pace of play with Complexity here. They are being dusted to most of these plays, and desperation dives like that are doing them no favors. AJ tries to make the stop, but Complexity just a bit too much for OpTic to handle.
Well, you know what? Complexity's going back to the first series that we saw them in. Like I said, I was disappointed in the second series when they played up against FURIA, but so far FURIA has been really on point and has been the most consistent team so far today. Which is interesting, because at the beginning of the day, I certainly would not have gone with FURIA as what I expected to be the most consistent team, just because they've been experiencing so much trouble in RLCS after, you know, coming from South America. But they've hit their stride again. And not only that, but they've set OpTic back off their stride. AJ is going to find one there. A little bit of a cluster inside of that goal box. But, yeah, it's coming back, right? Both of these teams are showing their strong sides. They also show they have weaknesses.
It's been not a perfect game out of Complexity by any stretch of the imagination, and I think that's why we've been cheering so hard for OpTic to finally find their momentum, is that they've had the opportunities to get into the series. Meanwhile, Complexity have had multitude of chances, and they just kind of take better advantage of most of them here, versus an OpTic that have seen those overextensions out of Complexity, who have seen those overly awkward plays on defense, and just haven't really been able to do much with them. Comparison, Complexity, another freebie that's not going to go through. Reynolds will make up for his teammate's mistake in that initial miss, but Complexity, again, look how many openings they have had due to OpTic just making these weird challenges on defense, these whiffs in awkward positions, and just not really being able to do much in comparison to Complexity, who have been so punishing over and over. So, OpTic, you've got half a game remaining just to tie it up, and then you need to try and get a win, and at least overtime if you want to keep this series alive. Although that is a difficult task, it is the one necessary just to keep yourselves in this tournament. With $10,000 on the line, a guaranteed $50,000 as long as you win this series, OpTic have got everything to play for in Complexity. You just need to hold on now for the remaining 120 seconds.
2 minutes, not that much. I mean, actually, no, 2 minutes in Rocket League is very long. I lied. Almost half of the match still left. A nice turn away there by AJG from AJ. Another kind of a bit of miscommunication, it looked like, from Complexity, but they're going to be able to find the clear. A challenge here in the corner ends up going in favor of Complexity thanks to CRR, but it's instantly turned back. AJG passing that one down to CRR. It ends up going over to AJ, though. Raise Bull trying to be the receiver, ends up getting interrupted. The 100 stolen as well for OpTic. This one's looking really good for them. The double touch from Magic Bear. He's just too close. Doesn't get the downward angle on this, but Complexity is on their back heels. OpTic has the chance still if they can turn this one around, but no, it's CRR who decides to carry it over to the orange side of the field.
Oh, that's just gotta hurt. That just feels like the golden opportunity for OpTic, and they let it turn to bronze. Unfortunate. With demos in the net, a clear lane, all Magic had to do was slot it under the bar, but unfortunately, it was just a bit too much to ask of Magic Bear. Maybe they'll get a second chance here. With a minute to go, they need a second chance to stay in this game. Although CRR, the rest of Complexity, can very quickly take that away if they get another goal and turn this into a 2-goal lead. This one's up. CRR will not get to it, but he's at least able to bump a couple of the players from OpTic off the ball and waste valuable time they cannot afford. 40 seconds left, Jolly. It is now or never. OpTic need a Hail Mary, and they need it like yesterday.
They really do. They need to move forward on this. It's a best of 5. This is, it's for a finals. A lot of tournaments run best of 7s, right? For finals and for grand finals. That's not the case in this one. It's still best of 5, so there's a lot on the line. There's 20 seconds. OpTic needs to make a move now. They looked so good in game number 1, and it's a whiff on the touch there, or an attempt at a redirect here, because Reynolds is able to at least get a bit of a stall out. A nice little drop there by AJ, so Magic Bear ends up getting some control here, but it's a pickup by Raise Bull. He manages to send it back to the other side, and not only is it Complexity's game and series, but they're going to put a nail in the coffin.
Well, we kind of knew that this one was going this way from, I would say, Game 2 onward here. And despite the various efforts out of OpTic, they just could not do enough to slow down the beast that was Complexity. It's another All-South American, well, close to All-South American final here, as we had the original El Clasico in the upper finals. Now we get it again